So you made history at 27 by beating a 4-time incumbent. That's a lot. That's a big deal. When did you know you wanted to be mayor, or even maybe back up a little bit further? When did you know you wanted to go into politics?
You got to watch what your kids watch on TV. So I watched Black Hawk Down, and I ended up wanting to be an Army Ranger. And I was able to become an Army Ranger after my time at Indiana University. If you're not passionate about serving others, serving your community, serving your nation in the United States military, you're quickly going to find that these are not the roles for you. These are very difficult jobs and occupations. So to all the young folks who are listening to this podcast, or their parents or their coaches, when you communicate to young men, young women, find something that you're passionate about, that you're ready to go when you enter the workforce. You're ready to go when you show up to work every day.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I am your host, Coach Seth, and we've got a special show lined up. Before we dive in, I want to just remind everybody that listens to this show that you can listen to this show anywhere podcasts are streamed. If you're listening on radio, you can also watch us. If you're a visual learner like me, you can go to YouTube at the 5-Star Life and see all of the archived shows. You can also go to yourhometv.com. That's our newest program partner channel. Yourhometv.com has all of the archives as well. And I just want to say thanks for tuning in. I'm going to dive into our special guest, and it's fun because this is somebody who has made history. He is the mayor of Terre Haute, Indiana. His name is Brandon Sakbun. Mr. Mayor, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Coach, for having me. Always great to hear that I'm special. Don't necessarily always hear that from my wife sometimes, but good to spend a few moments with you today to talk about the great city of Terre Haute, everything we have to offer, and how to make history.
I love it. Okay, so let's start there. So you made history at 27 by beating a 4-time incumbent. I mean, that's a lot. That's a big deal. When did you know you wanted to be mayor, or even maybe back up a little bit further? When did you know you wanted to go into politics?
That's a great question. And I always use this question to talk about the importance of education. So I had a 3rd grade teacher who meant so much to me, and I did create some problems in her class. I was a little bit of a misbehaved student. And so she really stuck me in a corner and had me read a lot to stay busy, to stay active. And she gave me a book once about government. There was one page that talked about what a mayor did. And she said, hey, you could be a mayor too one day. And from the time I was in 3rd grade, I knew I wanted to be involved in my community, the great city of Terre Haute, Indiana. And then in 4th grade, you got to watch what your kids watch on TV. So I watched Black Hawk Down, and I ended up wanting to be an Army Ranger. And I was able to become an Army Ranger after my time at Indiana University. I left with a finance degree. And then after being an Army Ranger, transitioned to the Indiana National Guard and wanted to pursue my other dream of being mayor, which allowed me to ultimately pursue my final dream, which is being a father.
Wow. I love that. So 3rd grade teacher sees some talent, sees some potential. You see this idea of being a mayor, explains what that is. You're like, that's me. I'm that guy. And then Black Hawk Down. You're like, I want to be that guy too. And you're doing both at 27. It's pretty remarkable that you stayed the course and that you actually pursued that. Walk me through, we'll have parents listening to this, educators listening to this. I'm always intrigued at, what people along the way helped you stay on track, or maybe who influenced you the most. You talked about your teacher. Who else?
Yeah, so I'll use 3 words and 3 stories to describe that. Adversity, resilience, and passion. The first is you're going to hit adversity when you're trying to achieve your goals, whether that's be the mayor, be an Army Ranger, be in finance, banking, real estate, medical profession. I had a lot of strong non-commissioned officers in the United States military who always guided me and mentored me, pushed me to be the best Army officer I could be, pushed me to be the best Army Ranger that I could be. So surround yourself with people who will push you through adversity. You're the average of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. So surround yourself with individuals who want what is best for you and who do not want you to settle where you're at in life. The second word there is resiliency. You need a lot of that to be the mayor of any community, whether it's Elkhart, South Bend, City of Terre Haute, City of Indianapolis, City of Carmel. Each community has its own challenges. Each mayor has their own priorities. I really just try to focus on population growth and increasing the median income of my citizens. And every day is difficult in today's partisan political world. So you got to be resilient. You got to understand that people will say very terrible things about you when you're in office. Not everyone calls you special and gives you a podcast, and that's okay. Learn to be resilient. Learn to understand that not everyone's going to agree with what your version of the city of Terre Haute is, but if we make it a community version, a community plan, then you'll get at least 50.01% of folks to buy in. And so when it comes to this adversity, resiliency, the last word is passion. If you're not passionate about serving others, serving your community, serving your nation in the United States military, you're quickly going to find that these are not the roles for you. These are very difficult jobs and occupations. So to all the young folks who are listening to this podcast, or their parents or their coaches, when you communicate to young men, young women, find something that you're passionate about, that you're ready to go when you enter the workforce. You're ready to go when you show up to work every day. Right now, folks in Gen Z and some of our younger millennials, they're switching jobs every 2 years. A few decades ago, people would stay employed with one company for up to 20 years. Now, some of our younger folks, they move different places of employment every 2 years. Find the passion so you can go to an employer where you fit the culture, you feel, you fit the vibe, and you want to help that team succeed. And you can only do that if you're passionate about what you do.
Mayor, why do you think, you're talking about that shift from generation to generation? What do you think the root issue or what caused that?
I think as a society, we need to get more involved with our communities. Something that I think Gen X, the boomers, and some of our older millennials have done well is they move back home. They get involved with the Rotary Club. They get involved with youth coaching. They get involved with mentoring the next generation. And frankly, the last 20 years has been very hard for the United States of America. Financial crisis of 07, 08, multiple international wars. In fact, we're in one now. COVID-19, the housing, AI, and these challenges are forcing a lot of younger folks to think a lot more about themselves instead of about the community. And I understand that. I understand that pressure. My biggest piece of advice is for the United States of America to continue to be the greatest nation in the world, to continue to be that international leader. Is we have to learn that if we are to be that big brother for everyone else, every other state, every other nation, we have to respect ourselves and our community. We have to want our neighbors to grow. We have to want our communities to grow. We have to want to internally grow and be better people.
Well said. I think I couldn't have said it better. One of the things we talk a lot about on this show is how technology is changing the way kids' brains function, and there's this incredible addiction to self and what pleases me and these dopamine hits. And if you keep playing that out, like you're saying, we become so fixated on ourselves. And most of what is on social media when it talks about career, it's all like this extrinsic focus. How much money can I make? What kind of vacations can I go on? What kind of house, kind of cars, kind of women, what kind of, people can I be around? And it's such a vain way to live life. And that's why I love what you're saying. And it's why I'm not surprised at your success, because that intrinsic motivation of like true passion for people and just to make everywhere you go better. I think people like that are going to stand out. So I'm not surprised why you've had so much success.
Well, thank you. Let's peel this onion a little bit more, because you brought up the cell phones, and I'm happy that you did, Coach. I am very passionate about parks and trails, recreation. And it's not because I love playground equipment, right? But I get so frustrated when I hear people say, oh man, kids nowadays are on their phone all the time. Yeah, no wonder, because we have failed to invest in public parks and recreation. We have slides all across the state of Indiana that are those old metal slides that get 100 degrees in the summer and a kid can't get on them. Give something for kids to do. Invest in community centers, invest in sports and recreational facilities, invest in public parks. It's great for public health, right? Seniors need to go outside, adults need to go outside, they can walk, they can ride a bike. But I want kids to play outside with sidewalks that are connected, street lights that work, modern parks equipment, basketball goals that actually have the net. Let's give kids something to do so they're not on TikTok. I want to fight the algorithm every day. I love saying that in the office. Like, let's beat the TikTok algorithm this summer and find something for the youth in our community to do.
Well said. I want to pivot a little bit back to this idea of you being a ranger. Like, you saw Black Hawk Down, you're like, that's going to be me. So many kids I talk to, and then I also talk to adults who have the same mindset, but they kind of hear your story or they hear a success story and they think it must be nice. Like, and they imagine all of the ease that you had, all the things that just fell into your lap and how easy it was for you. Talk about that, about how easy it was to become a ranger.
Yeah, that's the way to say it. It's easy. I failed ranger school the first time I went. I got out that first week, that kind of hell week period that you see on TV. And I went back multiple times with my bags fully packed, my bald head, because I had to shave my head, and waited for them to have an extra slot for me to be able to walk onto. Finally, they had some room. Someone didn't show up, so they were able to move me in. I made it through in 62 days. I lost 20 pounds. And then I went back to the regular Army, where I had to prove myself just to try out to be in the Ranger Regiment. There's the Ranger Regiment, there's Ranger School. And then I tried out for the Ranger Regiment, which was, wow, that was physically taxing, emotionally taxing, a lot of interviews, a lot of physical workouts. And then I got accepted to be in the Ranger Regiment, where I had to compete against the military's top 1% to 2% to try to be a ground force commander in the Ranger Regiment. And then I had to compete to stay in the Ranger Regiment, which I did. I enjoyed it. And ultimately, I did decide to leave. I have a lot of friends still there. Sometimes my mind wanders and I think, what if I'd stayed a little bit longer and then tried the mayor stuff afterwards? But, it's very difficult. It's a different lifestyle. It is not some modern lifestyle. You're making a ton. You got the vacations. It's very different. And you can only make it through if you're passionate about serving your nation and pushing yourself to be the best version that you can be. And it sucks. There's some really bad days, really bad times, but it is a brotherhood. I call it the fraternity of all fraternities, and I'm thankful I did it.
If you can give us the top one or two character shaping or benchmark moments or things you walked away that you said, this forever changed me in this way, that if I wouldn't have gone through that, I never would have learned this.
Yeah, one thing that I really learned was empathy. I remember being with a ton of other nations, ton of other special operations units, and we were working very complex missions that involved international law, federal law, you name it. And so you're basically creating a hodgepodge team. You're creating the Avengers, the modern day Avengers. But everyone's situation is different. Their countries are doing different things and have different goals and objectives. The people there have different career objectives. And you have to battle their perspective and their thoughts and put it for one mission, right? And one of the missions that we always did is, we want to stop terrorism in the Middle East before it spreads across the world. And that means you're working with multiple nations, multiple teams, multiple personalities. So getting empathy.
All right. That's our bell. That's a reminder that we're out of time. We're going to take a quick commercial break and be right back after this. The 5-Star Life Parent app. Each lesson includes a short video and simple discussion prompts designed to help families reconnect and start talking again. Because when parents lead the conversation, kids grow stronger. Download the 5-Star Life Parent app today and start your first family conversation this week, transforming kids' lives by challenging the way they think, act, and lead. Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I am your host, Coach Seth, and I'm having just a super fun conversation with the mayor of Terre Haute, Indiana. His name is Brandon Sakbun, and he is passionate. He made history by becoming the youngest mayor in Terre Haute history, 27 years old. He won back in the 23 election cycle. Anyways, he is... we just interrupted the last segment. He was in the middle of telling us a little bit about how easy it was to become a ranger. And now he was extrapolating some of the key takeaways that shaped him forever. And I think you're mid-sentence talking about working with not just U.S. Rangers, not just different military branches, but we're talking about branches of the military at other nations as well, trying to solve world issues.
As well as other governments, Coach. So it's very difficult when you are taking 10 people who want 10 different things, and you have to manage all of that and say, what is our collective vision as a team? And that's kind of the mindset that I take with community building here in Terre Haute. Using the character trait of empathy, you analyze what each of the 10 players on this team want and ensure that your overall group's goal can satisfy all of them. Sports is a great example, right? Everyone wants to win a championship game. That is simple. And if you are on a sports team and you don't want to win a championship, you probably shouldn't be on that team, right? When you look at it from a basically policy perspective, political perspective at the local level, I simplify my goals for this community to 2. People vote at the ballot box or with their feet. And we need population growth. If our population is going down, that means people are leaving and we're not doing a great job. Second thing, I want my residents to bring home more money year after year after year financially. To do that, we have to increase the median income. PNC political policy speak for we need to recruit jobs that pay more than the jobs we have today in the market. If you do that, families are able to afford a home. Families are able to go out shopping, eating, drinking, to enjoy this community, to be on AAU travel teams, and we know there's an opportunity cost and a financial cost there. So we simplify our goals. We understand what each community wants as a subgroup within the city of Terre Haute, and we try to find one vision that everyone can unite behind. I
love that. I think there's such a lack of leadership out there. There's a lack of vision, a lack of leadership, but so much of politics has become so watered down. It's like you don't know what people really stand for. You maybe know what they're against in this political culture, but they don't come clean on just like, this is what I'm going to do right here. This one thing, these 2 things. And whether it's politics, whether it's education, whether it's business, whether it's your personal goals, I think there's so much power behind, lasering your focus in and getting people who want to get on that singular mission. Talk to me a little bit about how it's going so far.
We'll use an easier example. That example could be housing. So when we say, hey, we want housing to be attainable in the city of Terre Haute, that means you're addressing blight. You're tearing down condemned homes that the private market has rejected and opening up land for new homes, new families. That means you're recruiting local builders and frankly, statewide builders to come to your community to build housing at all price ranges. This is why I use the word attainable, not affordable. What's affordable for you is different than what's affordable for me. Each citizen has a different definition of affordable. So you need to build housing that's attainable. And this has been a remarkable success. We have quadrupled our residential housing construction in the city of Terre Haute, Indiana. And we're proud of that. Our population is starting to go up. And this is one of the data points that we point to that is helping continue this positive increase in population. Another example, public parks and infrastructure, I put under this bucket called quality of life. Man, we do surveys, Coach, and I find over and over again that young people, seniors, parents, some things they really want to do that we see on these surveys is be able to walk to some place to eat, drink, hang out, be able to enjoy the outdoors, that's public parks, trails, recreation, and make sure that the roads they're driving on don't get too flooded and have some pavement on them. Infrastructure is expensive. It's hard to do. It's hard to do quickly. But without smart infrastructure and long-term planning and short-term results, it's very difficult to keep growing as a community. Parks are very hard. You invest in one and you have another neighborhood saying, hey, what about me? So we have a 5-year parks master plan that we follow to show that every neighborhood, regardless of your zip code, your income level, who your parents are or who your parents aren't, we're going to invest in your neighborhood, find a way to improve your park within 5 calendar years.
I love that. I think that, we've watched the disintegration or the breakdown of the family. It's well researched, well talked about, but things like that actually create a foundation for families to want to go do things together. One of the things that one of the initiatives we're launching is challenging families of preteens and teens, adolescents, to just have one family conversation a week together. You think about how fast-paced our society is. It's like families will connect, and they're like ships passing. They're just they're running kids to sports. They're taking them to school. They're getting groceries. They have so many activities. But to have one conversation, and I think exercising, getting out, doing things like that together, if we can do those couple things, I think we can change so much in our community, right? We talk about, I don't know if Terre Haute has this issue, but there are so many kids that are just unsupervised, right? Because parents are trying to make it work, right? And I've never pointed the finger at parents because, like, culture, it's hard. It's hard to make it work. But by providing these spaces in some of these environments, I think it's a really powerful thing. I want to shift to education. If you had like the magic powers to snap your fingers and change education, and let's say in 5 years from today it would look totally different, what would that picture look like?
Number one thing is I would tell every city and county in the state of Indiana that if you are investing more in incarceration than education, you're wrong. The foundation of our entire nation rests on youth, and frankly, youth in our community. I've always said education is like a pyramid. The base of the pyramid is pre-K, then kindergarten, then first grade, all the way up to college. I always get frustrated at some of my Democratic colleagues who bring up something like free public education, because my rebuttal is, well, until you make sure every student in America is passing kindergarten, third grade, and fifth grade, we have some foundational problems. When it comes to education, my top priorities would be, if I could just magically change this conversation, is ensure that private charter education, that it frankly is challenging public education, is held to the same standards as public schools. And what those standards should be, for whether it's private or public education, should not be test score based, should be workforce development based. Right now, the state of Indiana needs to change how we approach education and workforce. What I mean by that, every high school, community college, four-year college should be focused on creating a pipeline from the classroom to employment. And until we can solve that riddle, education in and of itself, the value proposition will continue to go down in young people's minds. I want our students to know that if they graduate in the state of Indiana, a public school, they can go get employed the day after graduation, or they can go join the military the day after graduation, or they can go join the skilled trades because we have a huge construction shortage in the Midwest the day after graduation, or they can go to one of our great four-year institutions, earn a college degree, and then stay in the state of Indiana. Indiana, we're the 9th best state in the nation at bringing students here for college. We're the 7th worst state in the nation at retaining college graduates to work in our great state. Why are our tax dollars going to train the next financial advisors for Chicago, Illinois, or Austin, Texas? Let's be honest with ourselves. If we're spending money on public universities in the state of Indiana, every university and university president should be charged with increasing the percentage of college graduates stay in our state. And then we should do some surveys and research here and say, what are these young people looking for? What do they want to do to stay in our state? We need to find a way to boost our overall state's population. And remember, the birth rate's going down. There are fewer and fewer kids going to school, fewer and fewer kids going to college. We are now no longer competing Indiana University and Purdue. We're competing all of Indiana against all of Michigan, all of Ohio, all of Texas and Virginia. I mean, it's like NIL, but for young people. And to do that, we have to fundamentally ask ourselves, young parents want their kids to go to the best schools possible, to invest in public education. Families want to know that when their kids graduate, they can get a job, hopefully close to them, so they don't have to move when grandkids come. So let's focus on workforce development. Let's really look at the future and take bold action in the present. I look at these conversations around education right now, Coach, at the state level, and man, boy, do I get frustrated. I don't care what the marching band's theme is, their costume theme. I want a school to be able to have a marching band. I don't care, that, okay, well, this school versus that school wants to have 2 social studies classes instead of 3. I want to make sure we could still teach social studies and history as written instead of trying to rewrite it. Simple as that.
That's really well said. One of the things I've been touting for the last year is how do we have an educational system where kids spend 12 years? I'm not talking about the 15 to 20, depending on the district, kids that go to college or know what trade they want to go into. I'm talking about the 75 to 85% of students that graduate but sit there for 12 years and have no idea at the end of those 12 years who they are, what they want to do, or they don't have any skills either. And so what you're talking about, this alignment with education and industry, where are the jobs? What are the needs? It's fun that there are conversations being had. I really appreciate what the Secretary of Education or team are doing to align those things. Yes. And we're big supporters of that. I want to invite you to come up and see what we're doing, because we're building the first model. I'm pretty sure I don't know anybody else that's doing this in the country, that we're starting with 5th graders, and these kids spend 12 weeks on our campus, 1 day a week for 6 weeks, both semesters, and they're being introduced at 5th grade to all kinds of industries, not just like a early career fair, but actually hands-on experiential learning. You're reverse engineering agriculture, woodworking, blacksmithing, nature science, DNR, all these different fields get reverse engineered, and these kids are coming alive. We'll have a published research piece come out this summer that shows actually that is stimulating growth academically. Their behavior issues are going down, their attendance is going through the roof, and their level of self-management is also spiking. So we're seeing the same thing. And so building that pipeline, my suggestion is, and to everybody, is we got to start earlier. Instead of waiting until they get to high school, let's start earlier. But I'm with you on, let's focus on the foundational pieces where we're losing kids. So really well said. Kevin, how are we doing on time? All right. Mr. Mayor, this was a fun conversation, and I wish you well. I would love if you get up to Northern Indiana to come see us, and maybe there's some things that we can help Terre Haute with as well. So blessings to you. Thanks for your time. Keep up the amazing work.
Hey, thank you guys so much for having me. I appreciate what you and your organization do for youth. I learned a little about what you guys do today. I hope you learned a little bit about what I do. And for all the young students who are listening to this today, for every one person who tells you you can be the mayor one day, thousands of people will tell you that you can't. Find the voices who support you, who push you to be the best version of yourself, and listen to them. Tune out the noise and focus on the folks who tell you you can go do something and be something in life. Thank you all. God bless.
I love it. And I have a feeling, I just have a sense that this could be like, Mayor Brandon, President Brandon. I don't know. I could see that happening. So very compelling. Thank you for your time again. At 5 Star Life, we talk a lot about the right tools. See, the hammer is the courage to be the best person you can be. The chisel is the respect you give and the respect you earn. The level, that's the integrity that keeps you balanced in a world that's always shifting. And the saw represents responsibility. It is what separates you from harmful actions and experience. It's the sacrifice it takes to work hard and be your best. Tools, when they're all used together, things are built. There's progress, but where there are no tools, there can be no progress. We give these important tools to kids every single day, and we couldn't do it without our partners like Global Link Distribution. Global Link supports this mission so that these values, courage, respect, integrity, responsibility, and sacrifice become the tools these amazing young people use to become great. Global Link Distribution is a leader and supplier to the RV, manufactured housing, cabinet shop, cargo, and horse trailer industries, but they're also a proud sponsor of this program to help 5 Star Life students thrive. It is our turn to see to it that our children have the tools that build greatness. Volunteer or donate today at 5starlife.org. Welcome back to the 5 Star Life Show. I am your host, Coach Seth, and this has been a fun show. Got to hear from Mayor Sakbun from Terre Haute, and I can see why people voted for him. Super intelligent, and first got the idea of being a mayor from his 3rd grade teacher. How powerful and how important are our teachers, our engaged teachers, and then had this dream of being an Army Ranger. So we learned so much about leadership, and we're talking about the top half percentile people in the military. Learned about leadership at a high level, international affair, just incredible. So, and the youngest ever to do it. So we're shifting gears though, because now we've got one of our very own. If you've followed our show, we have the one and only Keenan Story, who is the director of all of our summit programs and innovative learning programs. Keenan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So, Keenan, summer's around the corner. I want you to give us just a little update on, because I think this week we've been wrapping up 6 weeks of our innovative learning program. For those listening, we work with schools all over, but one of our programs, Innovative Learning, is what Keenan's going to talk about right now. Share a little snippet for people that just tuned in. What is Innovative Learning?
So for the past 6 weeks, we've had 760 kids a week out there where they're actually taking part of their week and doing school at our site. It's almost 400 acres of experiential learning. So they're going through different courses. It's tying in, honestly, a hands-on best practice way to teach the same academic standards, but in a way where they're engaged, they're enjoying it, they're actually performing well in those things. But then they're also just developing skills along the way. They're getting exposure to different opportunities. They're growing in their character, their leadership. They're learning our values, which honestly is going to set them up really well as they continue from an academic standpoint, but also just with whatever's next. And they're leaving with tangible skills, things that as they start to understand what they like to do and what they might want to pursue, they're leaving with some skills in those areas too. So it's a lot of fun. We've seen amazing growth in students and transformation through the program, and we're just getting started.
Yeah, and I want to just mention this to our listening audience for the grandparents out there, the aunts and uncles, or the parents who have kids that are teenagers and getting later in their teenage years. One of the things that is very in their face right now is are they prepared for college? Are they prepared for the workforce? What are they going to do? There's so many, everywhere I turn, people are concerned about what are they going to do? And this is not a knock on any educational entity. This is 5 Star Life saying we recognize that education as a whole is changing. It's growing. And we get to be a part of the change, saying, let's make sure that kids at a younger age, starting in 5th grade, they start to get exposure to what their skills are, what their interests are, and not just in a textbook and not just teaching to the test, but reverse engineering all the industries, all the jobs, from agriculture to medical to manufacturing and blacksmithing and woodworking to hospitality. Let's reverse engineer those things and let them start to see what they're intrigued by and interested in. And so for the younger parents that you have younger kids, this may not be in your radar because you're just thinking, my kids will figure it out. But parents that are a little further along, they'll tell you, you know what, this is brilliant because I'm watching my nephew or niece struggle. I'm watching my grandkids struggle. And we get to sit and be part of conversations with school boards who, and concerned citizens that are saying, well, why are we trying to change education? Why are we trying to take kids out of the classroom? We're watching, kids have all kinds of learning difficulties. They're not learning in school. Well, then why would we take them out of school? What would you say to that mentality?
Well, I was just thinking as you're talking, I don't know how you were in school, but we're getting near the end of the school year. I'm ready for summer. I have that whole mindset. No, we have 760 students thinking I'm excited to show up. And they're ending strong. Like they're viewing their entire mindset about their learning is just shifting. And we're seeing that it's going into increases in attendance and it's helping them academically. And they're at a great spot here, middle of May, looking at summer, and it's just not the way they see it now. It's thinking, no, learning can be fun, and it should be fun. And I'm learning through sparked curiosity, and really we're seeing great things happen from that. And I think it's kind of speaking for itself at this point.
We got to present in front of a school board, a significant school board in Indiana, and it was so interesting because some of the questions were, well, I don't understand. You're taking them out of school. How are they going to learn? And how is learning going to take place if they're not in a school? And it's this interesting argument, and it's confounding to me because the fact that we still think that the only time learning is taking place is when they're in a desk, like what is going on? I mean, we all understand that we can learn in any environment, and if we want to do better for our kids, and we want to see some of these trends of kids dropping out, of kids underperforming, of attendance being terrible, of then trickle down to behavioral issues, right? When kids get behind, they become behavioral issues, right? They start checking out. And then it's hard to keep teachers when you have high behavioral issues and you have this exodus. And the whole cycle just continues to spiral until we say, hold on, can we take a time out and can we look at this differently? And the cool thing is we'll have a published research piece come out that shows by doing this, by exposing kids to these things, not just a one-time field trip, not just a nice career fair, which all those things are good, but by doing this consistently, we're seeing all those things work. And we had a tour today from a gentleman who had a lot of questions about, well, how are they learning? What are they going to do? And it was fun to listen to him comment.
And now he's a fan. It's just fun to see that happen. So you asked, and you talked about the school board meeting, and you asked a powerful question in the room, and you could feel the energy in that room just shift. And we started to think differently about it right then and there. And it was just, everyone right now, think about how you learn best. And it's probably something even listeners can think about. And what this program does, it's not doing away with that classroom experience, but it's also not time out of that classroom like you're talking about. It's just thinking, how do these kids all thrive and learn best? And can we think a little differently about how we set all those kids up to succeed ultimately? And this experience has been that for them.
Yeah. And so there's still some out there that have a hard time when they see test scores falling, when they see kids not learning, and they hear all the issues that teachers are having with behavior. And they're thinking, well, I'm watching these data points plummet. How are you going to have less class time? So I get where they're coming from. But yeah, the question I asked was, well, let's think about this differently. How do you learn best? Do you learn best by going through sequential from page 1 to page 99 of a manual to put together a grill or a car or whatever it is? Do you learn best by just going through the manual? Or do you learn best by looking at the manual, but having the package open and doing it together? You look at the manual, you're doing hands-on. You're doing both, right? And I think most people can relate to that idea that, yeah, there's something about instead of just studying text. And you think about, we're adults, but for kids, they want to get their hands dirty. They want to actually wrap what they're learning into reality. And then we wonder why with AI, kids have asked this question for years. Why does this matter? Why am I learning this? Like, what good is this going to serve in my life in the future? Like, that's an age-old question. Now with AI, just multiply that by infinity, because I can just type it in ChatGPT and out comes the answer. So why do I need to learn this? It just reinforces this understanding. And I know some people are kind of cringing when I say that. No, I'm not a proponent of replacing education with AI at all. What I'm saying is there's going to be a premium on things that really move the needle, like working with your hands, getting real skills, right? So character, work ethic, and social skills and emotional intelligence, those have always been the things that have allowed people to rise and create jobs, create businesses, create new ideas. That's always been this epicenter of influence, leadership, and impact. Now even more so with AI. But now let's talk about the skills they need to learn. And that's why I think what you're doing with your team is so powerful. They're actually gaining not just the educational, but the experience and the skills.
And that question is real. Where am I ever going to use this? Well, now students are putting it to real hands-on experiences, and they're erasing that question. So now they're more engaged in their learning. They understand it. They understand the value behind it. When they start valuing what they're learning and that experience, I think that's why we see a lot of the results that we're seeing. And it is truly shifting, not just at Summit in that educational experience, that hands-on skill building experience there, but it truly translates into the other 4 days of the classroom during those weeks. And it's overall really supporting our schools well.
Break that down for a second. So people that are listening, they're coming out for 6 weeks, but it's 1 day a week for 6 weeks in the fall semester, then in the spring semester. So talk a little bit about how that works. They come up for a day, and then somehow we're working with the educators, the principals, on how all that translates to the other 4 days a week.
Absolutely. Everything that is built out for their experience at Summit, we're taking it and really trying to make sure it's complementing the rest of the classroom experience. Give them these hands-on experiences, build that background knowledge, interest them and engage them in those things. But then we're working directly with those principals and teachers to be thinking through how is it not just another thing or a separate experience, but it's truly integrated, both from a curriculum and a standards perspective, as well as, hey, if they go out at Summit and they're experiencing time with our elk, and they're going through nature education or working with animals, well, there's so much that alone leads into sparking what they would like to go read about and what they'd like to go write about, or the process standards with math that they're learning from out at Summit, along with these skills from blacksmithing or working in the garden or archery. Well, there's so much that if we're just intentional, that we can align with that classroom experience, and we do that.
And we just heard from the mayor of Terre Haute. And, it was, again, in third grade, his teacher gave him a one-pager about what a mayor does, what the role of the mayor is in Terre Haute. And they were breaking down what the role of a mayor does. And he was like, and the teacher said, I think you could be mayor someday. So that idea and that belief was sparked, and it became reality. He was watching the next year, fourth grade, he was watching the movie Black Hawk Down. So we just had him as a guest. He's a prime example of the power of exposure, of experience, of belief, and our staff and the teachers come alongside those kids in those environments. And these kids are discovering talent. I was talking to one of our coaches, and he was saying a kid that came into the program having no clue what he wanted to do. And this is a fifth grader. Of course, he's not going to have any clue. But he's leaving saying, I want to be a chef, because this coach with 5-star has been walking with him for the last 6 weeks, listening to him talk. And he's like, man, all you talk about is food, and talk about what you cook, what you bake, what you're doing at home. He's like, have you ever thought of being a chef? He's like, I didn't think about that. I just thought I was making food. It's like, no, they're like, you can make great money. It's a great career. He's like, that sounds like so much fun. Like, well, you already have the gift. You already have the drive. And so that kid is walking away picturing himself differently, like, I could be a chef. And it's the combination of being with kids, walking with kids, listening to them, but also giving them exposure into things like hospitality, right? Into things like we're doing. Super powerful. Okay, we're all out of time. We're going to take a quick break and come back with more. The 5-Star Life Parent app. Each lesson includes a short video and simple discussion prompts designed to help families reconnect and start talking again. Because when parents lead the conversation, kids grow stronger. Download the 5-Star Life Parent app today and start your first family conversation this week, transforming kids' lives by challenging the way they think, act, and lead. Welcome back to the 5-Star Life Show. I am your host, Coach Seth, and we are having an amazing time today. We got to sit and interview the mayor of Terre Haute, Indiana, Mayor Brandon Sakbun, and what a sharp guy. Super impressed. You can see why people supported him. And then we're also having a conversation with Keenan Story, directs all of our programs, our innovative learning program at Summit. And but before we jump back into our conversation, I just want to thank you for tuning in. And I want to say, if the content of this conversation is beneficial, would you do us a favor? Would you hit the like button? And then if you can think of somebody that would also benefit that you want to share it with, like, man, this is intriguing, I'm thinking of some people, just hit that share button, share it with some people. And just a reminder, if you're listening by radio, you can listen to this anywhere podcasts are streamed. You can also watch us if you're a visual learner. I'm a YouTube person, so go to YouTube, and we are at the 5-Star Life. And you can also check us out on Your Home TV. It's yourhometv.com. Again, both YouTube, the podcast, and Your Home TV and YouTube have all of the archive shows, so check them out there. But I want to just address with Keenan here, grandparents who have their grandkids for the summer or relatives who have kids coming into town, and you're like, man, I got them for this week. What should I do? Or I have them for a few weeks. Are there things that they can plug into 5-Star? Talk a little bit, Keenan, about some of the opportunities this summer for really powerful education and learning experiences.
Yeah, we always try to provide opportunities for just open enrollment for any parent, grandparent to say, hey, my kid might not go there with that school or that organization. I want him to get involved. So we have a number of camps and retreats and a lot of clubs year round that you can go to our website and check out. There's some great opportunities. It's really including a number of the things that Summit has to offer. So getting plugged in with our barn and the equine program, or shooting archery, learning about nature education, or really getting into even some trade skills with blacksmithing and things like that. So it's a wide variety of what we kind of offer in those programs, but a lot of evening, weekly clubs are great opportunities to get plugged into for a touch point on a repetitive basis, where students are really starting to see that growth and development happen because they're coming back and again and again and again. And then there's more open enrollment opportunities as well. They can go to our website, go to open programs, the Summit tab. It's an easy place to find everything. So good opportunities there.
I love it. What would you, how did I get there? Why don't you give them the website, tell them where to go if they're looking to get their kid or grandkid involved?
They can go to 5starlife.org, go to the Summit tab up top, and that's a great place to get them to open programs at Summit if they want to click on that.
It's good. One of the things that I want to just remind people of, if you're new to 5-Star Life, we're doing so many things. We have 5-Star basketball, which we just hosted a historic event at the Mishawaka Fieldhouse in partnership with the Mishawaka Fieldhouse and Adidas 3SSB and Open Gym Premier. We hosted a world-class event, and it was the first time an exposure event of this level has ever been in our region. So the best talent, some of the top players, top 5 players in the country were here. So we had Dan Hurley, and we had NBA players, a lot of high-level college coaches. Every Power 4 program was there in attendance, and it was really cool to see our team pull that event off. Keenan, you were a big part of it, along with Coach Huber. So there's so many things we're doing, but we also have some incredible programs, and we're challenging, Keenan, parents to take advantage of some of the resources we have this summer. And one of the things I've talked about in this show is to challenge parents to think about summer a little bit differently. Often we think of like, man, they're off school. We're going to let down our hair. We're going to kick our shoes off and just kind of relax, which is so necessary and so important. It's so good to get away and plan some unique experiences. That's wonderful. But I also want to challenge parents to think about this summer in terms of like, we always talk about summer learning loss. I mean, in education, it's a big deal. We just met with a superintendent yesterday who was talking about that, like kids that aren't a part of educational programs or don't have parents that read with them or expose them to anything. There's a real learning loss. Like they take us a couple of steps back and they have to start over in the fall. And so encouraging parents and grandparents, get your kids involved. Again, it doesn't have to be 5-star, but get your kids involved in educational experiences that are convenient for you. And if you're in our region, get your kids involved in our programs because it's a mix of character, mindset, leadership, and then hands-on learning experiences that's tied to state academic standards. You get the whole thing. And we're doing for the first time, we're a local site partner with Summer Learning Labs. Talk about that.
I'm really excited because of what you just said. I mean, you're eliminating summer learning loss without it being like you're in a classroom. Like they're still having fun. They're doing hands-on learning. They're gaining skills, but you're still eliminating so much of that concern, and students are going to be thriving and ready for fall at the end of that. So, I mean, starting here in June, we're going to have a number of slots that we start with for our first year, where for 25 straight days, they're coming up to Summit and doing learning at our site. So every day it's a mix of, that literacy, but the hands-on part of it. So they're learning curriculum pieces, but they're going through different courses and different areas. And it's going to be a lot of fun to see that happen. And students are going to leave the summer being taken on a journey where they're learning where they want to go and the goals they have for that coming year. They're really going to gain a lot of clarity and focus about that stuff as rising sixth graders. And then ultimately that's going to be paired with skill development. And they're going to have a whole summer to have a fun opportunity, something meaningful in the summer. Where they're getting outdoors and they're going through nature education programs and a number of things from agriculture to growing food and figuring out where that comes from and working in those types of spaces, being with animals. They're going to get to experience a lot of that, and I'm excited for it.
Again, 5starlife.org. You can find that information. Share it with a family, a friend who has kids that need something to do this summer, and not just something like this old adage of, man, you got to keep kids off the street. I think it's great. Every single program and organization out there that's keeping kids off the street, I think it's wonderful. What 5-Star Life has done is said, let's take it even further, right? Instead of just keeping them off the streets and out of trouble, let's do some things that are highly intentional at helping them be exposed to learning and also relationship building, connection, how relationships work. And then gain some real valuable skills, whether it's in sports, whether it's in a career field of interest. So we're excited about that. Just a few minutes left. Keenan, anything else you want to share about opportunities or anything when you look back on the last 6 weeks as you wrap up innovative learning for the last 6 weeks? Anything else you want to share? Any highlights?
I'm just excited for where we're ending this school year and launching into the summer. I was up at Summit today, leaving a classroom, and there were letters, Dear 5-Star letters from students. And I just looked at the top 4. Every single one of them, somewhere in that letter said, this is my favorite place in the world. And that's what we're able to do for these kids, is provide that space where they can learn, they can thrive. It's that environment for them to really be challenged and grow and become what they're capable of being. And I'm excited to see that continue into the summer.
I had a kid yesterday come to me, and we had never met before, and he said, Coach Seth, I love this place. Like, I wish I could live here. So I wish I could come today and then tomorrow and the next day. And I wish I could just never stop coming here. I'm like, why is that? He said, because it just feels good and I learn and it's fun and it's safe. And when kids start articulating those things, you know there's something really powerful happening. This is the power of what we do. And I want to pause here because there's people listening who you you are listening to this and you're like, man, I love this. How can I support it? There are several ways. Again, I've talked about sharing this with people that you know, just so that they can get their kids involved. But secondly, we have so many financial needs and areas that we're going to grow into. We just got a donation by a group out of Indianapolis whose their business is called Wood Miser, great organization. They build sawmills and send them, ship them all over the globe. Internet, like a worldwide business. They just decided to donate a sawmill to us and a kiln so we can take out of our 400 acres, we have so much acred wood that we can fall trees, put it through the mill in 30 days, put it through the kiln, and have wood for woodworking programs. So, but we need the infrastructure, the facility, and the woodworking equipment so that we can add woodworking as another experience that kids can start to scale up in and skill up in. So there's ways that you can get involved if you're a person in the community that has some means or just wants to get involved. There's volunteer opportunities available, and there's a lot of opportunities to help us scale this thing. And if you're an educator and you're not partnered with 5-Star Life, we have so many scalable programs that we'd love to hear from you. Just go to 5starlife.org and hit the info or the contact us button. We'd love to actually you'll probably hear from Keenan himself on reaching out and connecting the dots. But
You will.
All right, so we are out of time. Thank you so much again for tuning in. Go to 5starlife.org, 5starlife.org, and remember, you can listen to this show anywhere podcasts are streamed. Check us out on YouTube at the 5-Star Life or TV.com. All the archives are there. If you hit the subscribe button, you'll actually get a notification every week that, hey, another show's been released, and so you don't miss a beat. Thinking about summer, last thoughts for parents. Be intentional. We have a 5-Star Life app we're going to talk about next week and how you can start to take your power back for the parents of teens who are slipping through the cracks. We're going to teach you how to connect, and we've got some resources that are going to be a game changer for your home. Thanks.